Growing up, so many of us, especially those of us in our 50s, were surrounded by constant correction. Don't do this. Why did you do that? Those words left an imprint, shaping us into people pleasers. Whether it was family, friends, or colleagues, we adjusted ourselves to be accepted, to be loved and valued. But what I've come to realize is that this need to adapt often came at a cost of our true, authentic selves. We became versions molded by others' expectations rather than the women we were always meant to be. Soft, yet powerful, and uniquely us. So many of us, especially women, have spent a lifetime being shaped by the expectation of others. We become versions of ourselves molded by countless people, family, friends, colleagues, who likely never realized the impact they had. And it wasn't their fault entirely. They were conditioned too. But as children, we learned to react instinctively, seeking their approval by doing what they wanted, being who they needed us to be. We chased love, respect, and validation by becoming someone we weren't. And over time, we lost sight of who we really are. We gave so much of ourselves so often that we never stopped to nurture or to even discover our authentic self. Now, at this stage in life, over 50, I've realized that I don't fully know who I am. I'm not the real me. The unfiltered, unapologetic me. For years, I've been busy shaping myself to fit into spaces, to meet expectations, wearing different hats, and to be accepted. And at the cost of what? It's been forgetting to honor and to develop me. We've spent decades allowing others to be themselves, often without question, yet we've denied ourselves that same freedom. In our quest to be liked, to belong, we've suppressed that very person we were meant to become. And now I'm asking myself, who is the woman beneath all that conditioning? Criticism was constant growing up. Don't do this, don't do that. I think so many of us, especially those of us in our 50s, come from that kind of environment. And it's no surprise that we grew up to be people pleasers. Whether it was family, or it was with friends, or with co-workers, we've been conditioned to adapt, to change who we are, just to feel wanted and accepted. But But here's the thing I've come to realize, especially over the past week or so. This is why I've always felt like I don't belong. If I'm not being myself, my true, authentic self, how can I possibly feel like I belong? How could I feel like I belong? And if I can't accept myself as I am, how can I expect anyone else to accept me? This is something that we all need to remember when we feel out of place. We spend so much time changing ourselves, adjusting for different people, bending to fit into different situations just to be accepted. But in doing so, we lose the core of who we are. We lose us. And that's why we feel disconnected. That's why we feel like outsiders. For me, it hit hard. I've changed myself for so many people who've come into my life. And when I think about it, I realize a lot of them, I don't even want them in my life. I don't even like them. So why am I putting in all this effort to please them? When I sit with these thoughts, I feel it. Not just in my mind, but I feel it in my energy, in my body. It's like this heavy, restless weight. I wonder if you've ever noticed this too, like how your body reacts when you feel insecure, when you feel like you don't belong. That's the signal right there. It's your soul telling you something's off, that it's time to stop pretending and start being real. And when I feel this way, I can sense myself withdrawing, pulling my energy inward, shrinking, taking up less space. I don't want to irritate anyone or get in their way. So I shrink myself even more. As I've started reflecting on this, I realized over time I've molded myself to fit into other people's expectations. Often for people I don't even like or respect. That has to change. This week, I've been working on shifting that. Not in a bold, dramatic, sudden way where I become this overconfident person who doesn't care what others think. No, it's subtler than that. I've been focusing on reclaiming my energy, letting myself exist in my own truth. But when I try to show up as the real me, it feels uncomfortable. It feels like that imposter. Because, let's be honest, we're so used to being rejected when we're authentic. The truth is, we often surround ourselves with people who don't accept us because we haven't accepted ourselves. And until we do, we'll keep facing rejection, even if it's just from within. I've come to see that when I take others' judgment or dismissals personally, I'm essentially rejecting myself too. It's like Abraham Hicks said, I'm selfish for pleasing me, but I'm not selfish for pleasing you. That mindset is absurd when you think about it. Yet, we've been conditioned to feel guilty for prioritizing ourselves. Growing up in a culture or environment where you are constantly told to serve others, be selfless, to be a martyr, it's hard to break free from that. Even now, at 54, I catch myself feeling guilty for the smallest acts of self-care. The other day, I treated myself to a 5-star restaurant, and my first thought was, I shouldn't have done that. I'm so greedy, so selfish. But then I realized, why should I feel guilty for doing something that brings me joy? Other people live their lives unapologetically, doing what they want without giving a second thought of how it looks to me. So why can't I do the same for myself? As people pleasers, we're trapped in this constant cycle of guilt for wanting to enjoy our own lives. But it's time to break that cycle, to let go of that warped idea of selfishness, and to start giving ourselves permission to exist fully and unapologetically. This week, I realized something important. I've spent so much time feeling guilty for prioritizing myself. I've reached that point where I just can't do that anymore. I have to start pleasing myself unapologetically without guilt. So, how did I come to this realization? Honestly, I got tired of feeling like I wasn't good enough, of shrinking my energy, holding myself back, and being less than who I am just to make others feel comfortable. I went back to a book I've been reading about self-actualization. It's about a plastic surgeon who, instead of immediately operating on his patients, would first act as a sort of a therapist. He listened to their stories and guided them through practices to explore their deeper emotions and beliefs about themselves. Through this process, many of his patients experienced profound changes without ever going under the knife. They started to heal from within. This inspired me to focus on my own inner work. I began meditating for 30 minutes each day, visualizing the person I want to become. I imagine myself stepping fully into that version of me, confident, joyful, and free. It's been transformative. Slowly, I started to notice how those feelings of guilt, inadequacy, and self-doubt are beginning to fade. What I realized is that those feelings weren't coming from the outside. They were coming from within. I was the one criticizing myself. It was like hearing that same inner voice from childhood, that one that says, you're not good enough. You should be doing this, or you're doing it wrong. had internalized years of conditioning that made me believe I wasn't worthy. But instead of letting those thoughts control me, I've been doing something different. When those feelings arise, I don't push them away or let them take over me. I simply say, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I say it to every negative thought, every painful emotion, and then I let it go with love. By doing this, I've realized something profound. I wasn't rejecting myself because of others. I was rejecting myself because I believed with what others thought of me. And I wasn't loving myself the way I deserved. But now, every time those feelings come up, I remind myself I love you. I don't let those emotions create chaos in my mind or energy anymore. I just let them flow through. I just let them flow through me and release them. And that's how I've started to truly change. Not by expecting the world to accept me or respect me, but by changing the way I see myself. It's not about forcing others to validate you. It's about shifting the way you feel inside. Letting your authentic self shine and standing firmly in your own power. This process isn't about shouting, look at me, I deserve this. It's quiet, it's internal, and it's deeply personal. It's about being aware of what comes up within you, whether it's guilt, resentment, or fear, and meeting it with love and compassion. It's about flexing those I am worthy, I belong muscles until they feel natural and strong. This is what my journey is about. This is what this channel is about. Growing, learning, and becoming. As I step into the second half of my life, I'm determined to be my authentic self, to live unapologetically, and to inspire you to do the same. If you tried any of these techniques, or if you're on a similar journey,